Welcome to Expired Musings podcast. My name is Jared.
And I'm Aman, and this is where all our thoughts go to die.
So have fun!
Please do. Okay, guys, so welcome to our second episode. Before we get started, there is a very serious topic that Jared and I have to discuss with you.
Super serious, super controversial, if you will.
Absolutely. So, we have to address this issue that has troubled our friends and family.
Sleep, they can't eat, they can't go on with life. We've disturbed them.
We have destroyed lives, and it's all due to the name Expired Musings. So, let us explain, guys. The name Expired Musings, it just means like dead, fleeting thoughts, which is a phenomena that I think Jared and I experience, and probably everybody else on the face of the planet. We all have absurd, interesting thoughts or obsessions that run through our heads throughout the day, and then they disappear, and you never think about them ever again. You know what I mean?
I think what troubled a lot of people is the term musings. Number one, we're not calling ourselves muses.
Absolutely not.
Second of all, have you ever picked up a dictionary or attended a literary class?
Yes. Are you illiterate?
Illiterate?
It's just us being pretentious, to be honest. Let's be honest, Ragat. We're pretentious.
We like to be a little pretentious.
Being a little pretentious is nice.
Never hurt no one.
No, absolutely not. And we didn't want to name it something like Dead Thoughts. You know, we didn't want to be two-dimensional.
Oh, please. We have personality.
Absolutely. We're dynamic women.
That's why you're listening.
Exactly. So welcome. Okay, so after that little tidbit, we can jump into today's topic. Today's topic is something that Ragat and I are very passionate about, and it's something that I think we're all forced to be aware of. So, Ragat, go ahead and introduce today's topic, please.
Yeah, well, we've decided to name today's topic the filter effect. The filter being Instagram, and not just tied down to Instagram, but any sort of social media where images are prominent and editing takes place. It's an epidemic. But before we do start, just as a disclosure, there are some trigger warnings that we would like to discuss first. We will be talking about body image and body dysmorphia. If you're not comfortable with this topic, you can just exit out. We won't know. We won't get upset. We don't want you to be upset. So just do whatever you feel comfortable with. And regardless of whether you choose to continue listening or not, Aman and I will include help phone lines and resources in the, I guess, what do we call this? The discussion box?
I keep wanting to say the description box below because of YouTube, but that's not how it's going to be. Jared and I will include helpful links in the little description bit of the episode on Spotify or Apple. They put a little description. It'll be there. We'll add a few links, and hopefully it would be helpful to whoever needs it. So let's get on with the topic, shall we?
I'm excited.
Me too. So basically, today's topic will be about the role of social media platforms, Instagram in particular, I think, in toxic influencer culture and the way it has created a monster, something that has become, like Ragat said, an absolute epidemic of deceit and lies. We want to talk about the start of Instagram. So Ragat, do you remember when you got Instagram?
Oh God, what are we talking about? 2010 maybe?
Yeah, I think I got mine maybe, 2010 makes sense. 2010, 2011.
I remember being in high school, essentially, when Instagram took off. But the Instagram back then was so much different than now. How we reminisce.
Who did you follow? Do you remember who you followed?
I followed my neighborhood. That was whoever I knew in class or I knew in my personal life. It was just that circle. It wasn't, I don't even think celebrities were really on it at the time. And we didn't really have what you call today accounts like influencers.
Yeah, I remember. I think I also just followed my friends, and in like maybe grade 11 or something, a year after maybe getting Instagram, I followed all the Pretty Little Liar girls. They were all on Instagram, and I was like, absolutely, I want to know what's going on. I want updates. I want to be on it. I want to know what's going on in the PLL world. But those were much simpler times. We literally just followed people we knew and, celebrities that would post like one picture every 4 months. That was it.
They were super inactive, if anything.
Right. Unfortunately, the Instagram we know now is riddled with face tuning, Photoshop, willful manipulation, withholding of information.
When we're talking about withholding information or deceit, we're talking about all platforms of marketing. So,
Hmm.
skincare, clothing, hair,
Makeup.
all of that has become a marketing tactic, and it's truly exploitive at the heart of it when you see these influencers editing their skin in a skincare ad to get pore free skin, when you
Hmm.
do makeup edits to get those sharp edges, to enhance the coloring, brighten the features, when you even there's like apps now that can thicken your hair.
Oh my
There's this
God,
one app.
really?
I don't think it's Facetune. It was like called something else. It's so scary how accurate, no, not even accurate, how realistic it makes you look into a different person. It changes everything so
Oh
seamlessly. So like I can have a new nose in 2 seconds and no one would be able to tell.
my God. This is so, yeah. See, it's like it really is manifesting into this whole unspoken secret. But I know what I mean. Like it's a well-known, everybody does this. All your influencers do this, and it's just been accepted and it's disgusting. And we're
Yeah.
just talking in regards to like false expectations. For example, health
Mhm.
influencers. Raghad brought up a really good example, the pregnancy example.
Oh, yeah. I don't know if you guys remember, but there was a phase on Instagram where these health fitness gurus or lifestyle accounts, they were targeting pregnant women, and they were pregnant women themselves, but their lifestyle was totally different than the typical woman experiencing pregnancy, and they were so preachy on snapping your body back into shape literally 2 weeks after delivery. These women, like, you couldn't even tell they were pregnant unless they made that announcement themselves. And the way that they were talking down to pregnant women, like, oh, you just need to follow my lifestyle. Oh, you need to just, my diet, my exercise habits, all of those have shaped my body. And if you don't follow them, you're lazy and you lack priority. Or it's even worse, and it's under the name of TLC. So tender love and care. You're not showing yourself any
Yeah.
self love if you're not putting these things as a priority. It's like what the hell? This woman just delivered. It's exhausting. She's tired. She's staying up all night, dealing with constant crying. And you want to come out here like you're not trying hard enough. Actually, you're fat and you don't deserve anything in life. Okay?
And your baby's a garbage
You're
baby.
terrible.
What kind of monster bullies women who've just given birth? What kind of monster bullies pregnant women? Is that how much you want to make your coin? Is that how important to you profit is? That you're willing to basically bully helpless women
Well, there's
online?
no morals involved when it comes to money
Oh, yeah.
because I don't even know if these influencers are realizing the damage that they're causing on the average user. But to see someone else go through the same thing that you're going through and have their results totally different without realizing what it took to get those results is so shattering on your self esteem because you're like, oh, what's wrong with me? But you don't know. You don't know that they
Right.
have trainers or dietitians or just money. They have time. They have time for babysitters. They have time.
Unlimited resources.
Exactly. And you're not seeing that. All you're seeing is the instant result. They also have surgeries. Let's not pretend that's not a thing. Where the tummy tucks, the liposuction, the lasering for scars, like just nobody talks about that. And these poor new moms, or even these women in general, whenever you're seeing an influencer portray a certain lifestyle, they're not disclosing the fact that they've had work done, and you think that this is just the norm, this is the set expectation, and you're the odd one out. But the funny thing is, it's like these influencers themselves, they couldn't even reach a certain attainable beauty standard, so then they had to forge one.
Right, and then they're trying to finesse you into thinking that, well, this is where you should be as well, right? And this is the standard you should be living up to as well, even though having zero of the resources that I have. It's cruel, and it leads to tons of body image issues, and we see it happen all the time. And this is where this kind of leads into the body dysmorphia issue. So, body dysmorphia disorder have definitely been affected by social media, of course. And that's something that we see with both genders, with men and women and everybody in between. So here we have the issue, as we were talking about, pregnant women feeling pressure to adhere to a certain body type and to quickly snap back into the before quote unquote body. We see this effect translate into different ages and different groups of people all around the world, of course. And this comes in the form of body dysmorphia disorder and other body image issues that we see that have, unfortunately, I think, worsened by social media. So we see both men and women being affected by these orders. And so little is known about these disorders that I think they're even hard for professionals to diagnose, let alone treat. And it's so recently that it's something that we talk about. Like, do you remember how old you were when you even read for the first time about body dysmorphia?
I don't remember if we discussed this in like grade 9 or 10 gym class. I think there was some mention of it, and this is where the trigger warning comes in, particularly anorexia or bulimia or any of those sorts of disorders. But it was never talked about in detail. And then it wasn't until university I took a body image class, surprisingly from HK, which is known for, pertaining to a certain lifestyle. So I think it actually does make sense that these profs are trying to target an issue that might be prevalent in our faculty.
I would hope so.
Yeah. So they did go into great detail about body dysmorphia, how someone can start to feel so pressured to fit a certain standard. But yeah, to kind of answer back, I didn't learn about it till I was an adult.
Far too late.
And I think it existed for a while, but it's not until recently that we started to talk about it. But if you remember, like back in the 90s, the early 2000s, it was just body dysmorphia, but wrapped in a different packaging.
Yes, it wasn't labeled yet. And if it was labeled, of course, as it would have been for professionals, it wasn't labeled for the everyday person.
Exactly. It was Paris Hilton, it was Victoria's Secret models, it was
Yeah.
all those women that you saw on TV at the time, subconsciously or consciously, you were taking in that content and you were comparing yourself and you were trying to mimic those women that you saw. Now it's like you're not only just seeing it on TV, you're seeing it on your phone, you're seeing it in every aspect media.
Oh my God, it follows you everywhere. You go from Twitter to Instagram to Facebook, it will follow you everywhere, to TikTok, of course. And it's so horrifying. Like the fact that it seems that even as we have moved past the obsession with a certain body type, maybe that was there maybe 20 years ago, now it's moved on to something else, to just another toxic sort of beauty standard. And I was doing some research and I found that 1 in 10 men in the UK in particular struggle with muscle dysmorphia, which is most an issue amongst young men. And this condition, like, it causes individuals to feel like they're too skinny, and then they become fixated on becoming more muscular. It's weird. It's kind of like the opposite of what you would think, where you want to be, usually with eating disorders, it's about wanting to be more thin. But with this particular one, it's wanting to become more muscular. And you can definitely see like how the rise of social media would worsen this, because let's think about, the 60s or the 70s. You wouldn't really consider that time was like all the men wanted to be ripped. You know what I mean? That wasn't a thing.
Lean, skinny, sleek.
Right. Yeah, even femme, a lot of the men, like, it was a time of, rock and roll. There was tons of femme men out there, and it was way different than it is maybe in the late 80s and the 90s. Then we started to see this more like muscular, really macho man.
Bodybuilders.
Yes, bodybuilders that look. And then it just continued becoming more of a standard. And then now you see like all the really popular male influencers. Come on, I would say like 90% of them are, ripped guys. And that's half of their appeal, right?
Of course. And I think that explains a lot of men's behavior at the gym, even where everything's a competition. Like, I've heard stories where men are constantly comparing themselves to the guy next to them. It's like, what the hell? Mind your business. Just look forward and focus on your weights. But even when it's not a stated competition, you're keeping that in your mind. Oh, he did like 20 reps of that, or he's using this type of weight. I think I need to up myself as well.
And the thing is, it's so underreported. Muscle dysmorphia in particular is so underreported. And I'm sure it's for many, many reasons, mostly because only recently has this conversation sort of taken place or has been put to the forefront, but also because it's so taboo for men to even care, let alone have feelings or struggle with the way they look. This is something that nobody ever talks about, and you see tons of young men really struggling from this. And I keep thinking about the men in my life who have shared, maybe showed me a part of themselves, or maybe were vulnerable enough to tell me, oh, I wish I looked like this, or I struggled with my weight, or talking about their body weight, or talking
Hmm.
about their appearance, to the point that when you speak about it, it's like they're talking about some great big secret. And I know that the internet is not make better.
Yeah, no, it's one of those things where to disclose any of that, you're considered weak. Just it's something that men don't do, right? But
Yeah.
I mean, this is why they need therapy. This is why we all need therapy.
Y'all get a therapist, please, if you can
Please.
afford it. Please.
Or even just be self-aware so you don't project these feelings onto other people in your life, because I can imagine
Hmm.
that built up frustration and insecurity, it can leak its way into a lot of your own personal relationships, which we don't want that either.
Oh, yeah, no more of that, please. Talking about other people's bodies or discussing other people's bodies as if they're your own is very troubling. And Raga was telling me about something. Y'all, I was not on Tumblr because I was a cool kid. I'm sorry. Were the cool kids on Tumblr? No, I wasn't on Tumblr because it stressed me the hell out. I couldn't figure it out.
I just like the aesthetic.
Yeah, Raga was all about the look, sweetie. She was all about the clouds, pink clouds and whatnot.
It's my travel guide almost.
Yeah, thank you, Tumblr, for the travel inspo. But Raghad was telling me about this thing that I didn't even hear about until we had this conversation. Raghad, please.
Oh, so if anybody was on Tumblr circa 2010, I think we all know what I'm referencing when I say hashtag thinspo, or those anorexic hashtags, or sometimes it wasn't even under a certain hashtag, it was just images of extremely unhealthy body types, of really thin women, of that flat stomach, of thigh
Ugh,
gaps.
and thigh gaps.
Exactly. Yeah, just like really thin women.
I think there was a thing with like faces being extremely angular and sharp too, due to losing your baby fat, or like that was also, I think.
But there's a whole community of it, of just of a certain body type being portrayed on Tumblr, and it definitely, I think, contributed to a lot of eating disorders. And a lot of women that did have eating disorders, they would go on Tumblr for that inspiration, and it would feed into it. And Tumblr made an active plan to try to abolish it by removing certain hashtags, and can't title images a certain term anymore, but people find a way around it. It's something that's never going to go away, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's really upsetting because I feel like even it's odd too because it's used by, I would think that many of these photos that were being shared are of women that maybe perhaps are not even unhealthy, maybe women just that are just naturally that thin.
Mm-hmm.
But when that's another thing about the internet or social media platforms is that, let's say you have certain genetics that happen to fall in line with whatever is popular at the time, whatever is trendy,
Right.
and it's used as the norm for everybody else. And it's so toxic, it's so horrific. And then you see it being translated into other things. So, for example, this is another topic that could be sensitive. We want to talk about minor beauty procedures that are usually like great in theory, but could really manifest into people becoming hyper focused on like these tiny little flaws and feeling like it's necessary to correct them. We see this a lot on Instagram. I never even knew that these things existed. I never Raghat, have you been seeing this thing with the fox eyes?
Of course, it's all over social media. Bella Hadid is pretty known for it.
Bella, right? Yeah. So that's the thing. Bella's actually a really good example. So
Mm-hmm.
at first, I thought that Bella was just that was her face, and then I thought it was makeup, and then I found out that she got like an eyebrow lift.
Yeah.
What we were alluding to when we're talking about fox eyes is, think of like a lifted brow with a sharp angular eye going upward.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're not born with that, people were getting procedures, which is already insane to me. Imagine me like, hello, I want to just fix the way my eye looks. So like, can you do that on just because it's trendy right now?
Just trendy, yeah. Like your face is some sort of of item that needs to be swapped.
As if it's like interchangeable, you know, as if
Yeah, this isn't like Bratz where you could just take the shoes off and on. Like, do you remember that, by the way, about Bratz where
yeah,
you could just kind of,
take that bitch's
ugh,
whole ass foot off. Like, goodbye foot. Yeah.
goodbye feet. But what I did notice with this whole trend, so women back in the day, they would get this trend, right? So this was really evident specifically in women in their 40s and 50s getting this type of procedure where the corners of their eyes would start to sag and they would get this minor surgery to just lift and tighten it up and get rid of whatever loose skin there was.
To get rid of like crow's feet, for example.
Exactly. Now they're starting to notice, like these surgeons, that women in their 30s and even 20s are getting this surgery where it's so not needed.
Right. It's purely for a trend.
Purely for aesthetic. And they don't, what people don't realize about surgery, these small procedures, is that they have risk and nobody discusses the risk. Everybody's just like, oh, next day I have a new face. What do you think?
The people that are literally influencing you to get this work done are not disclosing information.
Mm-hmm. What are they directly influencing you, like telling you, hey, go to your surgeon right now, fix your ugly face? Or it's subconsciously through the way that they present themselves and the way that they advertise products and make themselves look so au naturel, and you think, oh, I want to get that.
Right.
And realizing it, it's all an influence. Makeup gurus on YouTube, where they go as far as shaving the ends of their eyebrows to get that lift with the surgery too. So they just look super snatched.
Yeah. Too snatched, if there is such a thing.
You look like you're just walking around with a rubber band around your face.
And this is, this is one procedure. Should we even start on the lips? Kylie is starting to get her lips done at age 17, 18, and it becoming something that everybody wants. Y'all, filler is not a joke. Filler moves. It's inside your face. Please do not be deceived into thinking that
You need this.
yes, you need this, and that a certain type of lip is the only kind of lip that you should be having at the moment. It's horrifying.
Some people's face does not suit the big lip trend.
Do they care?
Yeah, like literally, the proportion of lip versus face on some people looks so off. But because it's a trend, it's suddenly okay.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean.
And the whole thing with like the filler moving, not only does it move, there was one YouTuber that I watched, Snitchery, and she got most of her fillers dissolved. And when I say most, it's because you cannot 100% dissolve a filler all the time. Sometimes it's trapped under like a layer of fat that the surgeon can't get through, and now you're permanently stuck with this undissolvable filler in maybe the most uncomfortable area.
Yikes.
Also causes texture bumps, especially if it's not done by a certified surgeon. Even when it is, like Aman said, it moves and it can create texture. So whether you get it in your chin, you might end up getting texture and bumps along the jawline. Whether you get it on your lips, it might start to cause a little bit of bumpiness on the tips there.
It creates another thing they call like a mustache illusion. What happens is the filler moves kind of upwards and it creates this extra layer of lip that's not pigmented. Looks very odd. All these things, they come with this, like I said, it is a risky. I don't even know if we should get into the fact that it's financially probably unattainable for most people.
It's so expensive.
It's so expensive, and it's something that you need to maintain. And
yeah, once or twice a year for some areas.
Yeah. So that's even more ludicrous. And then we get to the discussion of all this information aside. Of course, you can do whatever the hell you want with your face. Nobody's going to tell you what to do with your face. It's nobody's job, especially not ours, to tell you what to do. But there is this kind of frightening conversation that comes with procedures, plastic or otherwise, where we talk about the motives. So a lot of people would say, this is me loving myself as I am, and a lot of self-acceptance. This is who I am and I love my face, versus my body, my face, and self-improvement. Definitely adapting towards society instead of being happy with the way you will look, especially in regards to removing cultural identity.
Yeah.
When you get certain procedures done, you end up inevitably changing something that is directly tied to your ethnicity or heritage. And this is where the Eurocentric aesthetics are being a norm again. The default face. I hate it.
It's so basic, but it's so creepy at the same time, the way that these surgeons are Frankensteining these women. And it feels, I don't know if this is the correct term for it. To be honest, I don't care, because this is what it feels like to me. colonization. It feels like colonization in a way where
Yeah, it does.
it feels like a subtle version of colonization where, you have this woman that comes in to the surgeon and he picks out certain features from certain races to put onto
Or
her.
she picks
And
them.
or she picks them, yes, or whatever the trend is at that time, right? So you might have lips from African American descent. You might have eyes from Asian descent. You might have cheekbones from Middle Eastern descent. And you have all these specific qualities from these areas that you just throw on to a face that was never meant to have that. And then it creates a new standard, a new set of beauty that even the people from that specific culture cannot attain to. So they were the original holders of that specific physical trait. They're not good enough anymore.
Or if they have it, it's not beautiful. But if you have an
Exactly.
ambiguous, like, white person who's gotten that surgery done, then it's beautiful at that point. It's only
Exactly.
beautiful when it's placed on a face of somebody who is not from that original, like, ethnicity. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
This beauty standard where you have to be perfect in all aspects. You can't have a single bump on your nose. You can't have a random piece of fat on your face. The way your lips are lined or shaped, it has to be plump and perfect. And it's so disheartening, especially when it's targeting now younger and younger girls. They think that they need the surgery. They think that they need this face, and they don't realize it's surgery.
Yeah. They don't realize that it's been constructed. It was not God given. And then this is something that is horrifying because it's, first of all, the ethnically ambiguous face is problematic in its own way. I read a paper in university. I was doing some research that was written maybe in 2005, and they were having this conversation then as well. They made the example of Jessica Alba and Vin Diesel being ethnically ambiguous and being used instead of hiring actors from that ethnicity. For example, instead of hiring Latina actors, they would hire Jessica Alba or Vin Diesel, even though they're not of that descent, but they might pass as that person from that
What
descent.
about here's a great actress for you, Scarlett Johansson.
Oh, Scarlett Johansson, the ever-changing queen.
She's got no butt borders.
She can probably play Godzilla, and we'd have to watch it, and she would win an Oscar. I'd be like, okay, yeah, it's maddening. And this is something that is like people are like, oh, but like the world is changing because 15 or 20 years ago, the ideal woman was like thin, blonde, and white, meaning Paris Hilton or whatever. This is just as bad. You know what I mean?
I prefer Paris Hilton over today's monstrosities. Paris Hilton at least did not pretend to be anything but a white woman.
No, good sis knew that she was white.
She was great, she owned it, and she just lived her life. Is it really her fault that the paparazzi made her into this idol?
Nope.
I can't really blame her for it. She's just out here getting her coin.
Yeah, another issue that's definitely we see a lot is blackfishing is a huge trend that is horrifying too. And when it comes to that as well, I had actually another example from my personal life. One of my friends was telling me how she's half Filipino, half from Lagos, and she's like, "Man, I'm so annoyed because now apparently my eyes are in fashion." And I was like, "What do you mean?" And she's like, "My fox eyes. I've been trying to make them round all these years." So I can like fit in basically. And she's like, now all of a sudden it's cool to have my eyes. And I was like, oh shit, I didn't even think about that. For me, Alexa's eyes were Alexa's eyes. You know what I mean? Like I never thought about it. And but the way she said it, that is so annoying. That is so obnoxious to have your features stolen or being used.
Harvested, if you will.
Harvested.
It's like some weird black market shit now where they just take your eyes.
It really is something that we really need to keep an eye out on. I'm worried about young women in particular seeing influencers with these ethnically ambiguous faces and striving for that instead of being happy and falling in love slowly, as a lot of us do, with our own features. And I think like a perfect example, our noses, Arab noses. How many
Exactly.
years did you struggle with your nose?
I think this is something that's targeted every single Arab woman. I don't know about the men, maybe the men, but particularly for women, I haven't met a single one that didn't want to change her nose.
Yeah.
We literally looked at every halal avenue. But I think the question that we have to ask ourselves is who set the standard?
Yeah.
Because we were fine living with our features for centuries.
Yes.
I think for a lot of these insecurities, they've stemmed from the minute that we hit puberty. Because before that, think of yourself as a kid. Did you ever look at the mirror and think, wow, I need to get filler here and there. My face is suddenly not fitting the way I thought it would. Kids back then, they just focused on being kids and wanting to play and have fun, all of that. But now it's like those features never bothered you before. Why suddenly now? And it's because of all these external influences.
And they're inescapable. You will not meet a kid that doesn't have some sort of social media account. They can't avoid it. And the issue is seeing all these people getting these small procedures or face tuning
Mm,
or whatever it may be, is that they wouldn't get the chance to fall in love with their face the way we did. It was like a learning process. It took us years to accept what maybe other societies would call as flaws, but they are not flaws. They're simply, it's simply your feature. And it took me forever to look at my face in the mirror and be like, yeah, that big nose, I love it. It's my nose.
exactly. It's a defining feature of your heritage, of your culture. It's what your ancestors had. It's a proof of the land that you lived on. It has so much history behind it. Not to sound super, what's the word? Not to over dramatize it, but it has a lot of character.
It has a lot of connotations that we should not ignore. And you know what? In conclusion, decolonize your face.
Please.
Please learn to love and accept the features you were born with. And a great example of that, I was telling Ragad that I saw this wonderful, wonderful girl on Instagram, this indigenous woman, and she made a TikTok where she turned to her profile and she traced the bump on her nose. And then it flashed to all these photos of other indigenous people, and especially going back to, like, black and white. She was like looking at her ancestors, sort of showing this history that is tied to this nose and the love that she has for it and the respect she has for it. And this is something that I want to see in everybody. I want us all to be able to look at our faces and see history and beauty, regardless of what the trend is today or what you're forced to consume today. These influencers are trying to capitalize on our insecurities and are trying to force beauty ideals on us when that's not how people work. We are not a one size fits all. We're all very unique individuals.
Even these influencers have insecurities, and you'll find that a lot of them that do get these procedures aren't entirely happy, and then that's why they continue to do these procedures. You think the first time it fixed everything? No, then you start to find another flaw and another flaw, and it's never ending. So
Slippery slope.
it's so addictive, and then by the end of it, you have a face that you don't even recognize. It's going to be such a boring world if every single person got the same face.
Please, I'm gonna pull my hair out if I see one more Kim Kardashian lookalike. I'm gonna jump out the window, Miss Thing.
Face, body, it's all the same.
Please stop getting the same procedures, especially women. I love looking at women. I love unique faces. I live for it. And to open my explore page and see people looking exactly the same, I'm sick and tired of this shit. Stop this shit.
I don't want to have to feel the need to conform to this new face,
Yeah, this face standard, yeah, if you will.
if you will. I think that if everyone just kind of kept their features, not to sound super preachy, so I used to be very pro everybody doing whatever they want to their body, their face, their choice. Great.
Mhm.
Now I have to say I'm very anti-surgery for everyone.
Mm.
I know some people have their reasoning, and for some people, it truly does make them feel better about themselves.
And
And
we're talking cosmetic, not things that are necessary.
oh, yeah, if you need help, please get help.
Can't breathe from your crusty nose. Fix it. Yeah.
But now I can't justify it. I can't sit here and think, oh, yeah, there's something wrong with your face. You need to get it removed or you need to get it adjusted. Because why? Who said that there's something wrong with your face besides society? And why should we follow society when it's ever changing?
Right. It's ever evolving, ever changing. You're going to look like a weirdo in 3 years when the trend has changed.
If you're going to lose any sort of identifying features about who you are culturally, who you are ethnically, you're going to look like some sim that just was created.
Horrifying.
It's terrible. We're living in a sim world. It's a simulation.
Simulation sim. But I also don't want to be Debbie Downer. We should talk about some of the positives. And I want to end with a positive note.
Yes.
Of course, there are tons of challenges that have come with social media, but it's also brought a lot of things into light. And there's been tons of conversations about body image acceptance, with the body acceptance movement, the body positivity movement. We have seen influencers come out really recently, actually, including Huda Beauty. And like you said, who else did you say, Rad?
Ditchery.
Yes, Nitri, right? And many others I've been seeing on Instagram.
Leonardo
People being,
DiCaprio with his dad bod.
Leonardo DiCaprio missing, looking fine, aging like fine wine. All these people have been open and have been honest about their struggles and have been honest with the procedures they get, have been honest about face tuning, have been trying to do less of it. And I love that. It seems that there is hope, there is light at the end of the tunnel. We are evolving into maybe going back to accepting one's individuality and one's body. And I can only hope that it just gets better for the future. I don't want our kids to struggle with it.
How bizarre is it for you to be living your life, getting up out of bed one day, and then having someone criticize your face daily? The audacity, like truly, just minding your business, and suddenly you're judged or you're treated differently or you're made to feel a type of way because of your face. How does my face impact you?
What are you, an auntie?
It is auntie behavior, truly.
Aunties are the only one that have the audacity to roast you for being born. But the next time I see somebody pressuring anybody to look a certain type of way, I'm going to say, hey, auntie, that's some auntie behavior. Keep that shit to yourself, okay? That shit is not cute. We're rebelling. And I'm saying this to all the aunties, okay? I'm coming for y'all. Stop yelling at young women. Fix that behavior. Go to therapy,
Go to
auntie.
therapy. Go fix your marriage.
Yeah, fix your marriage. Your husband is a monstrosity. I really hope that in the future kids would just love themselves. And I do kind of love that in Gen Z. Have you seen like all the cool punk kids?
Yes, it's seen, emo.
Live your life. Do whatever you want. Be anti-system. I love it. Honestly, it brings me so much joy.
Stand your ground.
Absolutely. Love yourself. Be who you are. Explore without changing fundamentals of who you are and how you look like.
In all honesty, without sounding too cheesy, you have something specific about you. You have something special about you that nobody will ever be able to copy. And I think that having that unique aspect, that's something you should cherish. You should be walking out proud that nobody in this world has something that you do.
I agree.
Yeah, just embrace it, have fun with it, and yeah, if you're seeing people on social media that are making you feel a type of way, unfollow them. You don't need that. You don't need that behavior.
No, ma'am. Remove. Block ka Instagram, block ka Facebook, block. So I want to end this episode by saying, hey, Ragad, you're beautiful.
Aw, hey, man.
Yeah.
Ugh.
What the hell? Ugh, me. You are not beautiful. You know that clip of Dr. Phil? It's like, you're disgusting, you're ugly, I'm gonna kill you, give me $200. I love that.
Yes.
I'm sorry, we're getting distracted. Well, thank you so much for listening to the second episode of Expired Musings podcast. It has been the Expired Musing podcast, gals.
Hope you enjoyed it.
Please listen to us on Spotify and Apple. Please follow us on Instagram on Expired Musings. And love you.
Love you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.